Welcome to our weekly support call for the Genius Insight. The Genius Insight is a form of biofeedback that is available to many more people because of the price point. The price point on your Genius Insight is a fraction of what biofeedback systems typically cost. When you're looking at some of the bigger box-based biofeedback programs, you're talking anywhere from $15,000 to even $50,000 for the most expensive systems. Maybe you have $50,000 just laying around that is ready to have some new use, but most people don't have that kind of money. And so what we've been able to do since 2012 is bring this program to a much greater audience. And I submit to you today that we need biofeedback more than ever. We need an opportunity to be able to check in with universal consciousness on a regular basis and get objective information. You need that for your health. You need that for your life. You need that in all the things that you're trying to accomplish. And biofeedback is not just for health. It could be for wealth and abundance. It could be for relationships. It could be for anything that you are trying to shape today in your life. So biofeedback is an incredible tool because we're realizing that we do shape our own reality. And quantum biofeedback acts as a way for you to get feedback on where you are in terms of shaping that reality. So you need to sort of know where you are in space and time in order to move forward in another baby step. And when you get that objective feedback, it really helps you to make new decisions. Additionally, it helps you to run the frequencies that you most need for today in order to accomplish that goal. So for those of you who have biofeedback, I urge you to share it with the people around you, even if it's just giving them a complimentary session with no obligation to do anything further, because this is the age of light and frequency, but it's also the age where we get the keys to the universe. We're getting the keys to the universe, but how do we? It's like if you got the keys to the car, but you didn't know how to drive the car yet. And the genius is our training wheels for driving the car. I'm mixing my metaphors, but you get the idea. This is how we learn to shift consciousness. I really recommend that you start learning about quantum physics, and a wonderful teacher is Nassim Haramein. And he talks about the vacuum, and he's really proven out all of this through his actual mathematical calculations, that it's really important that we are all deeply interconnected. And it's important to recognize that truth, that we're deeply interconnected. It's because of that deep interconnection of everything in the universe. The entire fabric is woven together. We literally are each other. You are in aspects of you are in every other person. The entire universe is connected through quantum entanglement. And quantum entanglement is why the genius is able to affect people anytime and any place when you do a long distance treatment. As soon as you're tapped into their energy, that information is given to their consciousness. And so this is a way of taking that piece of quantum entanglement and making it very, very practical, putting it into your hands to make those changes. So please, today, share the genius with someone around you, whether they are working on their health, their wealth, whatever it is, the state of their home. You could clear their home, something to do with their food. You could help raise their awareness around the food that they're eating. So the genius is, this is the instrument, this is the technology that speaks to where we are today on the leading edge. It's really, really exciting. And all of you who have been so drawn and attracted to the genius are part of that leading edge. So I compliment you on your astuteness in being an energetic pioneer. And I'm so excited that you're part of our family. The Genius is a community where we're actively working on each other and talking about the results that we get. I'm working on getting a Facebook Live group going again. If you're not part of our Facebook family, please make sure you send me a message. My website is awakentotalhealth.com. So you can reach me anytime by just going to those 3 words, awakentotalhealth.com, and hit the contact us button. You can ask me any questions. I have lots of upcoming classes and hope to get that information out to you over the next couple of days. We're going to be doing a balancing hormones with the Genius, and this is more important than ever. You guys, I'm talking to a lot of people who have fibroids and breast cancer, and all of these things come from the hormonal imbalances. And the hormonal imbalances come from deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, toxins in the environment, plastics, heavy metals, and much, much more. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and it's really, really exciting. It's more like fun than work. So what's really going to be cool in the new hormonal class is I'm going to have some updated information for you. And that's what I'm going to be bringing in the flower essences and the acupuncture meridian. So we're going to be doing that floral acupuncture within the hormonal class to give you guys more specific information for balancing hormones with the Genius, because that's what we want to get into, right? We want to know how to make this happen with the Genius, with biofeedback. To that end, we have a case already up today. This case was sent to us by Sherry, one of our practitioners, and we invite you to pre-send your cases. You can send them to me anytime over the week by going to Awaken Total Health, and then contact us, and then you will be in touch with me. I get your email immediately, and I will respond to it as soon as I can. So to that end, we have a young person who's on here already. She's just 10 years old, maybe not 9 or 10. All right, hang on one second. Okay, and she's dealing with a lot of issues for such a young person. And, you know, we want to keep in context that a lot of people, a lot of children who may come to you as a healer, maybe on, you know, they're like the newest volunteer, they're the youngest volunteer souls, and the DNA keeps changing and upgrading. And so you probably have, you know, young light workers coming to you often, and they have different issues, as well as any child in today's world has issues because of the toxicity and the cellular frequencies and so forth. So let's look at this case. We've already see body systems are up, so that's a good place to start for any case. And all right. So she is about 9 or 10, and she's got depression, anxiety, exhaustion, and she cries frequently. Now, when I did hear, so let's just see one more time, depression, anxiety, poor sleep, exhaustion. So that's a lot for 9 or 10-year-old. You know, even when I heard the voice, it reminded me of the volunteer souls and the souls that raise their hand and say, I'm ready to go to, you know, do some work on planet Earth. And then they arrive here and they're like, what did I sign up for? I didn't know it was going to be such a rocky road. This is a dense planet that we live on. It's said to be one of the greatest challenges for the soul to come to the Earth school. Okay, so we see for her, we've got respiratory, so a 728, that's really, really high for such a young person. So you don't have to be a doctor to make common sense out of things, you guys. You don't have to be a doctor to recognize patterns. But you may want to take some of my classes that are designed to teach you in the different areas of health, and that will make you a better biofeedback practitioner. But for right now, you just want to say, you know, isn't that interesting? Be a good observer. Now, we didn't see anything reported for skin or Respiratory, but let's go down to the bottom. Immune system is sort of borderline. Anything under 200, you guys, is sort of borderline. So then we can go and look for anything else that's coming up, whether it be red or blue. And we see sensitivities at 189. So, you know, it's very, very common for younger folks. One of the first things that they're up against is food allergies. And certainly any child that is still consuming any type of dairy product and having an issue, the most popular prevalent issues for pediatrics is still ear infections. And so if any child is eating any type of dairy, that would be the first thing that I would remove, whether it be milk or cheese, because that's one of the most common allergens. So we've got sulfites. That would be odd, unless it's dried fruit or something, because sulfites are more in wine or balsamic vinegar. Cheese, wheat, dander, animal hair. Now, often when you're testing, you know, not everything is going to be exactly like this 10-year-old probably doesn't have coffee, but it might be an energy of something, like the coffee might be stress. So the stress might be creating the same cortisol or epinephrine or norepinephrine increases that coffee can. So you guys, one of the most important things in biofeedback is don't take everything literally. So the energetic information is being reported to you. Don't reject it out of hand. Say to yourself, what does this mean? What could be the greatest meaning? Assume everything on the Genius is correct to some degree, but measure it with common sense. If it just doesn't make sense, just discard it. Latex, this could be an actual latex allergy, very, very common for anyone who has ever worked with latex. And this could even be, there's a latex aspect in bananas. So there's a latex chemical similarity. So if the kid is actually allergic to bananas and doesn't resonate well, that could be happening too. Unfortunately, you know, there's so many foods in the Western diet, whether it be United States or Canada, that are just so people eat them every single day. Unfortunately, we just need so much more variety in our diet. Okay. Unfortunately, and I apologize, some of that personal information is there, but we just took it down off the screen. It's one of those days, you guys. We are in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. We're sort of smack dab in the middle. All right, there we go. So there we are. We're back. There we go. Okay, I think everything crashed at the same time, so that's good. All right, in a way. All right. So even smelling coffee might be an allergen. My older daughter is like that, says Grace. That's good. That's good. Oh, Penelope reminded me to check her aura. Good call, Penelope. All right, so let's just look at digestion for a second, then we'll check the aura. So we're still in the investigation. We're trying to say, what is this? What is this? Now, digestion is one thing you can always count on. All of this could be from food-related allergens, depression, anxiety, you know, that could definitely be from food-related stuff. So I think Sherry's on this morning. So maybe Sherry, just give us some perspective. Do you know anything about her diet, her upbringing, what her familial situation is? Is there anything obvious in her family that could be causing her stress, a divorce, conflict, you know, between the parents that's not a divorce, moving? Do you suspect that this is a child, like a volunteer soul, based on the parents or based on your observations? So maybe give us some perspective on that. All right, large intestine. So if it was dairy, that could be a dairy thing, because digestion, milk, trying to digest milk if you're allergic to it is going to cause constipation. Constipation could cause a lot of different issues. Woo, look at this, you guys. So I'm going to check Sherry's comments in a second, but look at this. This is a 10-year-old. A 10-year-old has issues with enzymes, something in the mouth, something in the stomach, something in the pancreas, something in the gallbladder. And then let's look at the borderline ones. So not too much borderline, small intestine. I mean, my goodness gracious, this has to have a digestive component. So I'm more inclined to think about the food allergens, again, something in the food supply, or this is extreme emotional distress, which affects the digestion to a great degree. Okay, so Sherry says nothing obvious. So Sherry, while you're sitting there, I want you to ponder on the non-obvious and go to your intuition. So what has your intuition told you about the child? What has your gut told you about the child? And maybe give us some perspective on that as well. You know, biofeedback really opens up your intuition. It connects you more with your intuition. Let's go ahead and peek at the aura as Penelope mentioned. And let's go ahead and take an initial picture of that. Now we'll go into my custom libraries. And those of you who have the 200 plus custom libraries, this is great just to see what are the libraries that come up. Sometimes they're totally ridiculous. You know what? This is sort of increases my suspicion about this. I think this is a very sort of a high vibrational kid that may be just like, oh my gosh, what's going on this planet is one crazy place. Let's go to the libraries and let's take a quick look at that. Now, not all the libraries that are going to come up are going to make sense, but let's just look and see if there's anything that makes sense. And then we'll look at some other panels from the healing chronic cases. So kidney cancer, she probably doesn't have kidney cancer, but she might, maybe the kidneys are under stress for some reason. PCOS would be more related to female hormones. Brain waves, Ebola could be an infection. It's probably not the Ebola. Vessel health, let's just see what's under vessel health. I'm just kind of curious here what comes up under vessel health for her. Garlic. So garlic might be indicative of an underlying infection. So maybe that's what we are looking at. Magnesium. So again, I wonder how many bowel movements she's having, because you see how I sort of reverse engineered that. I took the large intestine. The magnesium is something, especially magnesium citrate, is often something you need when you're constipated, when your bowels aren't moving. So you put those two pieces together. Turmeric indicating the need for antioxidants. Magnesium, more magnesium, repair the endothelium, and nitric oxide. So my suspicion is that this kid is pretty stressed out. There's a lot of stress, because the reason I conclude that is the digestion isn't working correctly, and that's not from wear and tear. That's not from getting old. She's young, and this is when you have the most resilience. Also, repair endothelium nitric oxide tells me that the heart is under stress. Why is the heart under stress? You haven't even had time to eat enough, Big Macs and so forth to compromise the endothelium. So this seems like it's more stress related, or it's a genetic heart condition. Okay, let's see what else came up here. Healing Gaia, food allergy testing, heavy metal exposure, parasite solutions, heart health, and then we can go down to the bottom. So we just want to scan through the custom library. Some of you guys won't have all of these. My library, showing the libraries here isn't perfect because I do have some that are just research related. Brain solutions, rheumatoid arthritis, which could be, when I see rheumatoid arthritis, I sometimes think of the nightshade. Neurotransmitter solutions, thyroid solutions, positivity, movers, cluster headaches. My goodness, this child does seem to have a lot going on for such a young person. Okay, I just want to see what's in here under positivity. These are just words that help being more positive, having more gratitude, connecting more with love, connecting more with calmness. All right, connecting more with ease, connecting more with joy, connecting more with peace. So what are the parents like? Can you tell us a little bit about the parents? That's probably what we need to know next. I want to use this group of panels called the Healing Chronic Cases panels. And let's see if we can find those here. Healing chronic cases, and I want to look for the global causative factors. So this is meant to give us a global look at all the different factors that are related to the root cause. So let's just read through these. Vitamin deficiency causative, so that's one piece. Food quality, so going back to the food. Home toxicity, including dust causative. Kidney infection causative. So that's why I think the kidney cancer healing came up. Exercise level too low. Clarify purpose in life. Skin issue. We saw the integumentary system come up. All right. So then toxic exposure in the food choices, toxicity overload, genetics, negative thinking patterns, relaxation needed. There has to be some greater stress in this kid's world. There has to be. Because this is too much just to come from the kid herself. All right, so let's see if we can unmute Sherry and talk to her a little bit about this case, sorry, on the class. It is early here. Okay, so let's just see if we can find Sherry. I don't remember, Sherry, if you have a microphone or not, so if we can't get you on, we'll just have to improvise. We just do the best that we can with this. Okay. Sherry, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your observations of this young girl. And she is 9 or 10, right?
Yeah. Well, very sweet, extremely sensitive. She's only come to me once with her parents, clings to her mother. I met her parents before working with a different quantum feedback system. They seem to be very tuned in, very nice people. This little gal is the youngest of 3 sisters. I don't know a lot about what goes on in their family, but they seem to be absolutely loving, concerned parents. She's the little gal is very bloated, like she has candida.
Okay, so the digestion makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah. As I said, she cries a lot. She cried twice during the visit to me with her
What
parents.
did she seem to be? Did she just seem to be crying for no reason?
Yes. Well, very, very, very shy. Nothing that was said or done caused her to cry. It just seemed to be just pour out. But
Does
that's one of
she,
the
do you know
reasons.
if does she move her bowels at all? Do you know if she's
I
able
don't know
to?
about that. She might
Okay,
be.
write that down. We need to know that going forward. So, okay, and did you get any, and you may not have, did you get any kind of diet history? What she eats in the course of a day?
Well, they're not vegans for sure.
Okay. But
But they're
do you know?
healthy people. I would think that the family eats pretty well. Uh,
So
when in
this
the
is a really great conversation because you would be surprised. And sometimes even when we do our own diet journal, we're surprised, like, oh my God, how'd that thing get in there? And so sometimes when people think they're healthy and or we think that they're healthy, there is there's something there that's not quite, what we expect it to be. So I would definitely request a diet journal. What does she eat over the 3 days? And say, I try to be as reassuring as possible. And I just say, no judgment here. Doesn't matter if it's microwave food or fast food, just whatever she's consuming over about 3 days would really help me to help you and help her.
right now in the work I did, I worked on her every day for 2 weeks, and gluten intolerance came up very clearly for me.
Sure, it came up here
Passed on,
too.
and all they could say was, "We're working on it. It's not easy."
Oh, okay. So what does that means that she actually gets emotionally resistant, that there's some kind of food that she's sort of addicted to or really craves?
Oh, I think just to try with 5 of them in the family to uh,
Uh-huh.
take gluten out of the diet is something they're working toward.
Yeah. My experience is that it's not exactly the gluten itself. It's usually the foods that maybe are made with wheat gluten that aren't that healthy. Like if they were eating pure, I don't know, something that was a pure whole food that maybe had wheat in it or something. I mean, like true whole wheat, freshly made bread, it probably wouldn't be a problem. But I suspect the food journal will reveal a lot. I'm actually more certain of that. I'm wondering if they maybe have organic milk. I'm almost positive this kid is constipated, which is going to
Oh,
be
okay.
definitely something that's going to affect her whole health.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And but you know the parents pretty well. I'm surprised to see negative thinking patterns. Do you think either one of them maybe that
No, I wouldn't see
something in
that in
there?
either of the parents.
Mm.
They're both very spiritual, open-minded, progressive, health
Mm.
wanting people.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think there maybe there's some stuff beyond that, but it's hard to say. I mean, you'll sort of scope that out. There may be something deeper going on. I do think the root cause of this is that the food piece will actually get us a lot of traction, will go a long way, in other words. Um, it did say several times, it said lung issue, respiratory issue, mold issue. Any ideas about the house that they're living in?
No,
Hmm.
but
Meaning that there's nothing obvious, or you just don't know anything
well, I
about it?
haven't been to their home, but they both, there's excellent hygiene.
Of
Every
course. No,
time
I
they're
wouldn't think it would be anything that you
well
could see.
dressed, so I wouldn't.
Just ask them if do they have any dogs or cats?
Can't remember if they have pets. They might, but
Okay. This is, you know what? This is just the next chapter of exploration for you. Just say, I would ask things like, do you guys have an air purifier? What do you think about the potential for dust? Do you have pets? Because that came up, as part of there's some type of toxicity in the home, whether it be mold or dust, something like that. So I just think that we're probably at, ground zero. We're sort of just starting to understand her at a deeper level. But I think if the home toxicity piece was cleared up and then the food was cleared up, I would say a hypoallergenic diet, meaning no wheat, no dairy, no sugar. I can send you, that's a little different from our totally plant-based diet. I think that'd go a long way. I mean, she may want to be plant-based, but she may not have that choice because of her parents. But, for heaven's sake, let's at least get the food allergens out of there.
right. I think the most amazing thing for me is looking at the PTSD panel.
Uh-huh. And what happened when you looked at the PTSD
Well,
panel?
what would you go there?
Now, I'm going to go there, but why did you look at the PTSD panel? Because she has like the most glowing, perfect parents. Why would you ever think PTSD?
Just because of her high level of anxiety.
So before I go there,
No,
what
I
came up
always,
for her?
every day on her, I did depression, anxiety, and PTSD, as well as a general overview and balancing. So I did long sessions on her, and I was just
So
floored at what came up in the PTSD panel.
what did you come up with?
What did I come up with? Oh, very
What
much
came,
what you did, that it was a food issue.
no, no, no. What came up? You said you were floored by the PTSD panel. What came up?
Oh, well, the ages of the various ages of abuse, so much, not abuse, trauma, so much trauma. Here's trauma 12 to 15 years old, and she's 10. So I'm wondering, I don't know
Well,
if
you
you,
have to I mean, you could think about past lives for sure, but you have to sort of discard, you have to sort of take, I mean, emotional stress residue. I think you're going to have to go deeper with this one. I mean, not all that glitters is gold. There may be something much deeper. It certainly could be in her past lives, but you want to always, in medicine, we say horses versus zebras. I mean, I think I just, maybe it's conflict that she feels with her siblings, but you may have to have a separate phone conversation with the mom to sort of dig a little deeper. But you can clear the past lives. If you think it's past lives, you can definitely clear that and see if that makes a huge difference.
well, I've been doing that, and we apparently not yet. Nothing's changing.
But if nothing's changing, that means very likely that you need to look somewhere else. How come
Mhm.
it keeps saying that she needs more exercise? Do you know if she goes out for walks?
She's very resistant to wanting to exercise, but if she's constipated, like you say, if she wouldn't feel very comfortable doing that.
Um, yeah, something much deeper is going on here. I mean, you're absolutely right to bring this case as being sort of an extraordinary case. But why is a 10-year-old doesn't want to exercise? Is she a normal weight?
She's a little overweight, and it's said very bloated in her belly region. Not
Oh,
very,
okay. Okay,
noticeable.
so good other questions are what was going on for you during the pregnancy? Did you already do that one?
Well, we talked about her birth, and she was turned inside, and Daddy had to go in and move her around so that she could come out head first. So I think that was very traumatic.
Why was Daddy doing it?
I think they had a home birth.
So was the doula not working on that, or the midwife?
Apparently, Daddy's the one that went in and did that.
Was Daddy the midwife?
I don't think so. Daddy's
Oh,
not a
was he
midwife.
under the direction of the midwife
I'm
maybe to
sure.
do that? Oh my goodness, that sounds like Daddy wouldn't know what he's doing. What's Daddy's profession?
Daddy has a mobile mechanic business and is a
Okay.
musician. Daddy and Mommy are both very lovely people.
I'm sure they are. I'm totally, absolutely convinced that they are.
But
And what about the siblings? What's the deal there? Are they?
they're just two older girls. They
Hmm.
seem to all, it sounds like a very harmonious family.
Hmm. And what was going on during the term, like during the time that she was pregnant? Did you get any feedback from that?
No, I didn't.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that your depression assessment it seems to be correct because she's coming up, lighting up for a lot of sort of antidepressant natural solutions like St. John's wort,
Mhm.
um, like 5-HTP. She really needs to exercise. To me, if she's not wanting to do that, that gives me an impression of someone who's trying to sort of hold on for dear life. Like they're trying to like contract all of their energy because they don't feel free in the world.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely your question as to, why is a good one. I mean, it certainly could be bringing in past impressions. Did you do the past life trauma one?
Um, no, I thought that was in the PTSD. Is there a past life trauma panel?
Yes.
Let's see.
That's not part of the 200, so don't worry about that.
To see if I
Um,
have it, and if I don't have it, I'll
yeah,
get it.
yeah, no worries. Unresolved emotional trauma, mold exposure keeps coming up. I mean,
Oh,
mold exposure is not out of the question because of the location that you guys live in, right? Just because the geographics
yeah, well,
of
anybody can
being,
have mold.
well, anybody can have mold, but even more so, I mean, I guess I think about the Pacific Northwest, like, we're really subject to it here in the Pacific Northwest. I wouldn't think your climate would be that much different.
Um, yeah, it's not hard to get mold in a house.
Yeah. Okay, well, you can ask about that. Well, let's just look at the past life cellular residue here and see if there's anything. Well, there are a lot of, past life cellular imprints, so I would at least clear
Mm.
those. I would at least include them and clear them. Um, okay, well, I'll tell you what. I do think that the digestion piece and the food sensitivity piece, those are the good places to start working. And maybe, you could just take half a capsule of digestive enzymes, um, and put them in some applesauce or something for her. That wouldn't be a bad idea. So let's just start with the most obvious things, and work from there. And then we'll keep working on this. We'll come back maybe in class in a couple of weeks and get an update on how she's doing.
Well, unfortunately, they've paid me for the many sessions I did in the last 2 weeks, and they're not willing to invest anymore. And tomorrow I'm just going to have a wrap up with Mom and Dad and give them my impressions and suggestions.
Oh, how come they're not willing to do any more?
They just don't want to spend the money.
Oh, they don't feel like they're getting anywhere. It sounds like you guys
No,
are
I
just
don't
getting
think
started.
that. They just said that they paid me for 2 weeks, and they said that's all we have and that's all we're going to do.
Hmm. Well, I can imagine with so many kids that they probably are very budget consciousness,
Yeah,
but conscious. I feel like there's more going on there that meets the eye. Do you feel that way too?
I do.
Yeah. Something's in underneath the surface there. Well, we can only do what we can do, but I think if the most valuable information you can give them is to keep working on the digestion and that the kid is real sensitive to a lot of food. So a hypoallergenic diet would be the best, for her. Whatever she can do, at least get dairy and gluten out of the picture.
Right.
All right. Well, let me do a little bit more here, but thank you for giving,
Thank you.
yeah, for bringing the case.
I have a feeling there's a strong past life issues that are coming forward.
Okay, well, I
In
would do the
addition
I
to
would
the
do the
obvious,
clearing
the
on it.
digestion and the food sensitivities.
Yeah. The thing with past life is that on biofeedback, you want to clear them, but you do want to ask the question of how does the past life relate to the present moment? Because it's a little like past life is really good for energetic clearing to give them a boost in the present moment so they can move forward. But it almost always is related to some present life piece that
Hmm.
they do need to resolve in this life. So I don't know what that is for her as a 10-year-old, but we also want to be very cognizant to claim it in the present moment, figure out what the present moment issue is as well.
She seems to be very timid and afraid.
Right. And you, as the practitioner, want to keep diving deeper. What is she afraid of? It's not just that she was strangled in a past life. There's something in the current time that she's afraid of for a reason, whether it's rational or irrational.
Mhm.
So if you just had her for 10 or 20 more sessions, or even 5 more sessions, it would be definitely something that you, and I know you would do because you're such a great practitioner, you want to dive deeper. I wouldn't take things at face value because something's going on at a deeper level.
I agree.
Cool. All right. We'll talk soon,
Thank you
Sherry. Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Okay, so yeah, so biofeedback is a revealer, it's a revealer of something, deeper beneath the surface. This is kind of like a crazy conglomerate um, panel I did years ago, and sometimes I just use it when I just want to look at everything possible under the sun. Things that just sort of very, very offbeat things that I wouldn't think about otherwise. Um, all right, let's just go down to the bottom for a second. Then I want to look at flower essences. So yeah, there may be a parasite issue. The parasite issue would have come because of the constipation could have been, so parasites don't come from some mysterious, out of the blue circumstances. Parasites either come from like stagnation, that there's just waste that they can sort of gain some ground and they have some food to feed off of, but they almost always come from a meat-based diet. For one thing, that's how they get into your system in the first place, that most meat is full. I mean, pork is just filled with parasites. So the eggs and um, the different aspects, the actual worms and so forth, come in from meat. So that's something to just get out of the diet if you don't want to have any parasites. But then they can feed or take hold if there is emotional stress, so just being shut down emotionally, so the digestion isn't moving, it's stagnation, stasis, lack of movement, or if there's constipation. Now, I do think in summary that there is some type of emotional piece that's going on here, but it may not be that the parents are, behind the scenes that they're doing something. It's the way that the child is perceiving it. So something about the perception. Now, it could definitely, that birth trauma could have been something that would have been a very, very frightening thing for a child, to have to be turned right before the birth experience. And so, one thing you could check out is if she feels betrayal from her father. So it doesn't have to be real, it could be perceived because we're working with a child mind. So there could be that, it could be betrayal from the father. Um, something's going on in that child brain that feels threatened by either the world, the family. The older siblings could be the sweetest kids in the world, but you're driving in the front seat, mom turns around, the really, really sweet, older sister is jabbing the kid in the back seat or something. So, it seems like this needs more sessions and we need to ask more questions. We know mimulus is, I believe, about fear, so that kind of, jives, and I'm sure you're doing all the flower essences. Those of you who don't know, we gather up all the flower essences over 600 and all of the flower essences under 200, and we gather them with the physical symptoms. And the reason I do this, and the reason those who join me every week see me do this many times, is because it's almost always a home run, you guys. You're going to get 3 flower essences that can be made into a water remedy that will be very, very powerful for that person. And it's like a slam dunk. It almost inevitably gives the 3 flower essences that are most related to what that person is going through. So, clematis is dreaming of the future without working in the present. So that would be very, very common that's like normal and natural for a 10-year-old. But um, there is a past life imprint definitely coming up. So usually we see like a Scorpio sun or maybe a Scorpio moon or maybe Scorpio rising. It's something, I don't know if Carrie's on today, Sharon's on today, our other resident astrologer, could give us more. I think about the whole, it may be Scorpio in the midheaven, I don't know, but giving us that Scorpio aspect, which is past life bleed through. So that could be playing a part. You could look up her chart. I would say she's not a Scorpio sun, maybe Scorpio moon, which is also the sign of a healer, Scorpio moon. So you could look at that as well. So clematis can assist in grounding you in the future so that you can move in the direction of your dreams. Those who are dreamy, drowsy, not fully awake, no great interest in life, quiet people not really happy in their present circumstances, living more in the future than the present, living in hopes of happier times when their ideals may come true. So there's a past life piece, unexpressed resentment. Maybe she's resentful of the father grabbed her in a way that didn't feel good, when she was in the birth process. At least we can clear that energetically, or we can ask higher consciousness. We could create a customized panel and see if that is actually the issue. Gentian, discouragement after a setback. Those who are easily discouraged. They may be progressing well in illness or in the affairs of their daily life, but any small delay or hindrance to progress may cause doubt and soon disheartens them. So it suggests a very, very sensitive psyche, that she maybe needs lots and lots and lots of reassurance. Looks like dairy is not her friend. That definitely is something. Also, you could look into the silica, homeopathic silica. Homeopathic silica, especially for children, is a very common remedy, a very good remedy. And these kids really have a tendency towards constipation, but they're very sensitive kids. Each emotional impression is going to influence them more than other kids. So look up silica homeopathic for children. I believe Paul Herscu, Herscu, has written really good books about homeopathics for children and children's conditions. Vervain, which you're right, Jane is correct. This is misspelled. Ryan needs to make a correction here. It should be Vervain, not Vervivian. Vervain is, interestingly enough, it's over enthusiasm. So she may be, as an adult, like a very idealistic person. And her idea of how this life was going to be on planet Earth based on, compared with how it actually is, may be very disappointing. Those with fixed principles and ideas which they are confident are right and which they are very rarely changed. They have a great wish to convert all around them to their own views of life. They are of strong will and have much courage when they are convinced of those things which they wish to teach. In illness, they struggle on long after many would have given up on their duties. So very strong will. I wonder if that's a greater part of the picture, that it's her way or the highway. There's that resentment. So the thing of resentment from a past life, the thing of resentment from a present life is playing in here as well. Perfumes, probably a sensitive liver. Gut bacteria, bifidus in particular, may be very good. Adrenals seem to be effective. Starvation, cellular imprint. And we know that if there is a past life where let's just say the person was in prison and they died in prison of starvation or something, that kind of thing, then the person may be an overeater in this life. So I don't know if that's playing into it as well. There's nothing that we can do exactly with those past lives rather than continue to clear them out energetically and raise that person's awareness about them. Okay, so a lot of stuff coming up high here. Lithium orotate is for the brain. So there may be an underlying need for more B vitamins and brain and neurotransmitter support. That may just be for whatever the way that she came into the world until she sort of gets her bearings and is able to clear certain things. She may need more. We don't usually give kids 5-HTP, but at least some B vitamins. But 5-HTP, lithium, that's for brain health, for people maybe who have depression. So I suspect that there's a very spiritual aspect here, very high vibrational aspect, higher consciousness that needs a lot of TLC and maybe needs a very high vibrational diet. For sure, I would recommend a plant-based diet if that's possible, but at the very least, removing wheat, dairy, and all of the common allergens. Definitely no like high density, highly constipating foods like cheese. That would be an absolute no-no. She said, when she says something like, we're working on it, that sounds like a strong-willed kid. So, she may be her own worst enemy as well. So it's a good case, you guys, how biofeedback helps us to sort and sift. The information that we even got in this session, would take 10, 12, 14 sessions to get it if we didn't have the luxury of having biofeedback in order to be able to dive more deeply into all of this. Let's look at some of your comments and talk about some of your comments. So Penelope says, look into miasms. Kelly says, we have the same sensitivities and it seems the root cause is the MTHFR and the sulfur pathways. Taking systemic formulas, MORS has all the methylating factors, completely shifted my kids' mood and outlook on life. So we probably need to have another class on that, but basically taking supplements that help to drive the methylation pathways, the majority of which are B vitamins. So just getting I recommend the Max BND from Premier Research. Okay, and Grace says she's reading the book Robes by Penny Kelly. Very interesting. She says generations more removed from food grown locally will have more sickness. But you know what's interesting about that is more people, I don't know of one city, these days that doesn't have a treasured farmer's market. So the good thing is that more people are returning to understand the importance of locally grown food. And the farmer's market in the suburb of Portland that I live in is you have to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning or it is packed. People are there. They want that local food. Could it be miasmatic, says Debbie? ESP, if she is a crystal child. Which ESP are you talking about? I don't know. Seemingly loving parents, we said about that. Was she vaccinated? Karen asks. 99% of my clients do not even eat organic. Number 9, let alone superfood. Yeah, it's so true, Karen. Even if they're like, really highly spiritual, sometimes they don't eat organic. I suggest looking at the biofilm and malabsorption. Jane says sexual abuse, question mark. Don't know. Seems like that's not the issue, but something, again, with kids, isn't exactly, it may not even be abusive. It may not be sexual, it may not be abusive at all, but it could be the perception of a 10-year-old. So that's what we have to remember that we're dealing with. So parasites, heavy metals showed up with Candida makes sense. But remember, you guys, to start from the beginning. The source of parasites and heavy metals, for the most part, is food. And you guys think there's a reason that I go on and on about this. It's the meat that is the main source of your heavy metals, pesticides, and parasites. European studies have proven glyphosate or Roundup is the cause of celiac and gluten intolerance. That makes sense. My son was very sensitive to being assessed as well, be very sensitive how you speak to her or about her in her presence. Her emotions are saying a lot, I think. Feathers or duvet could cause a constant allergen. So what kind of a pillow is she sleeping on? If it's a down based, I would remove it. How do you deal with a situation a young child eats too many sweets in spite of a good diet otherwise? Um, yeah, I mean, kids are drawn to sweets. I would try to get as many fruits in there as possible. Anxiety equals capillary issues already, infection, joy, emotional. Um, so maybe the capillaries are infected. I'm not sure about that one. Could it be she's seeing stuff with the siblings? So Dale, good point. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, it could be something, you turn around, the older sister or something is doing something you don't know about. Check for parasites. The child doesn't feel safe. Started at year 1, clear the emotion and tailbone at the same time. Dear Dr. Ariel, in first scan, I had a very high digit for organs. When I expanded the organs panel, this is really a common question, you guys. Let's go back and do a little bit of this. Let's do a check on the aura. This is a very common question from Eli, so let's get into that. Thanks, you guys, for all of your excellent questions and comments about the case. We have an amazing group of healers who always come up with amazing ideas. So we started off with a very beautiful deep purple here, and let's go ahead and do another scan. Now it may go into more physical aspects because sometimes she could be head in the clouds, higher consciousness, and then we bring in the frequencies we've been sending her today. So let's see. So she's gone into a beautiful green, maybe trying to heal on that physical level, and something kind of interesting down in the kind of solar plexus digestive area moving out over here. So there's not really too much to write home about, but I do see some gray edges clearing here. Patricia said, look at the spiritual panel. I did notice that the spiritual panel came up very, very low for her spiritual protection, so that would be a good one to run for her as well. But Eli's question was more based on the organs. Let's see if we can find organs here. He's saying that he had a very high organ score, like in the 700s, but when he went here, he didn't see a very high score, so it confused him. You guys, that's really a common report from people, and so he didn't see anything like higher than 580. Part of it is because, well, there actually are really enough. I was going to say there's too few frequencies. There's more than 10 here. You should get a good dynamic check here. But you guys, I wouldn't bank everything on these reds and blues in the first system overview. They are meant to be in comparison to each other. So out of all of these, we're saying which are the ones that are the most important for us to run today out of all of these. But it's confusing because you might get in here and there might not be something high or low. I don't have a great answer for you, Eli. I would still maybe balance the very lowest number and just look on here and see if there's anything interesting that catches your eye. Maybe just if you can't find anything, then take the overall organs and drop it down into the main balancing and just balance that. There's definitely something in the organs panel that your energy field is interested in. So Lynette says, interesting that she clings to her mom. Could you do a relationship clearing between her and her dad to clear the birth trauma? I think that's really incisive. I would definitely recommend that. Does she have MTHFR and not getting the right nutrition? Just to add to the picture, much or not all, much of what she's going through resonates with me. So yeah, I think B vitamins are definitely in order just to be super, super simple. You don't have to do a whole methylation panel. You could just do the max BND to start off with. Hates going to school and doesn't want to leave home. That's really a common kid thing, but I would look at some of those homeopathics for children in the Paul Herskew book, particularly silica. All right, so, all right, if a child has a lot of water influence, she is very sensitive and emotional. Water signs also have abandonment issues, which is perhaps why she clicks to her mother. I think she was born in February, so she's an Aquarius, so she's more of an air sign, but we don't know what her other aspects are. I'm allergic to B vitamins. What should I do? That's a good question, Debbie. Um, what I would do is actually would test yourself against the max BND because most B vitamins are synthetic and they come from things like coal tar. So if you're trying to buy it from Costco or buy it from the CVS, you probably are going to be allergic to B vitamins. However, you cannot be 100% allergic to B vitamins or you would not be here because your mitochondria cannot run. If you just look at the biochemical pathways, all the mitochondria need vitamin B1, B6, B12. So your body would not be living without B vitamins. So somehow you're able to absorb them. If I really think it's the synthetic issue, and look into max BND from a company called Premier Research or any sort of natural, I think there's another company called Innate Response, INNATE Response, Innate Response, and they're all whole foods supplements. By the way, you guys, sort of an anti-recommendation, not a huge fan of the Garden of Life. If you're taking Garden of Life supplements or you need a substitute, just send me a message. I'll leave it there. So many vaccinations. I assume that she was not vaccinated. So I don't use anything synthetic. All right. There you go. I don't know if you're allergic to all of them, you're allergic to one of them. I don't know. If you have more questions, then send me an email. So you guys, I'm working on that hormonal class. I've got lots of actually new classes coming up for August and September. We'll be telling you about them very, very soon. Thanks for the great case, you guys, for Sherry bringing the good case. If you guys have cases as your practitioners, send me them in advance and I will queue them up and get them ready, or you can always volunteer for them at the class. I'm sending you much love and many blessings and much appreciation for everything that you do to uplift others. Please share the genius with someone you know today and share the message of biofeedback. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye for now.